Good evening, tasters. Nibbler here again with another nightcap note. This evening I want to discuss this bottle of Aberlour. Now the spelling is Casg and then Annamh. Now I hate to think how the Scots pronounce that, so I'm just going to call it Casg Annamh. And that may be right or it may be wrong. But the name translates to rare cask. It's primarily matured in Oloroso sherry casks, and it's bottled at 48%. But it is a no age statement, so therefore I approach it with a bit of caution. I have already poured a little because in my previous experience it needs a little time in the glass just to open up, and I may need to add some water, but let's try anyway. It's a lovely golden amber colour, really bright, beautiful looking colour. But yes, that nose is still quite closed. I'm going to add a few drops of water just to try and get it to open up a little. Well, that's a little better. There's some dried fruits there, probably raisin type. A bit of ginger spice. Butterscotch. And I know this sounds crazy because it's not a gin, but there is a little hint of juniper, which is very interesting. It's the first time I've come across that in a Scotch. Well, there's quite a prickle in that. It's a really lifted spirit. A no-age statement means that we have no surety of whether it's young, medium or old. And in this case I would assume that the spirit is quite young. But it's an intense flavour. There's syrup and dates, and there are those cinnamon spices. It finishes dry, the flavour stays for a long time, and there's a bit of charcoal bitterness at the end, which maybe isn't a bad thing, but it certainly takes a bit of getting used to. I know in the past we've discussed overstrength whiskies, and sometimes I like them and sometimes I don't. This is a very intense whisky. I like the way Ardbeg have described the wee beastie as 5 years old, and don't shrink from that. And I wonder if some of these no-age statements, the distilleries need to do that. I'm a great fan of the Aberlour 10-year-old. I've often spoken about it as my house whisky. If I had to take, one whisky that I would share and use on a regular basis, probably the Aberlour 10 would fit that bill. But often these no-age statements don't quite come up to that mark. This is not necessarily a bad whisky, but it's one that I wouldn't choose to replace when it's finished. Sorry, Aberlour, I love your whiskies, but this one perhaps not quite up to speed. All the best.